We are Quakers. As Quakers, we are historically opposed to war. These are aggressive military machines, part of a military posture that undermine, reconciliation and peaceful ending of conflict. They are not built to defend Vermonters. As Quakers, we aspire to be good stewards of the world's resources. These planes use incredible minerals and metals in their structure that some of them are reaching peak production, and that will affect, it needs to be used on useful things, not stupid things like these airplanes.
Exactly.
We support a path towards managed austerity of the world's resources. This path does not include the F-35. We value frugality. Given our country's current economic situation, we consider the construction of these weapons to be morally and economically destructive to our well-being. In addition, we mourn the human skills, the brilliant minds of engineers, mechanics, and software designers wasted on building this weapon of destruction, when those engineers and mechanics and designers are urgently needed to develop alternative energy sources, find a solution to desertification, desalinate water, reverse global warming, and help resolve the multitude of problems our fragile and precious planet is facing. In short, and finally, I'd like to say that perhaps you know that as Quakers, we sit in silence in our meetings. Our Burlington meeting is near the flight path of the airplanes coming and taking off at Burlington International. We dread the possible future roar of the F-35 into our worship and community space. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to start by saying that I'm thankful for all of the men and women who have worked so hard to ensure my rights are protected. This includes, but is not limited to, the Green Mountain Boys, the Vermont National Guard, as well as all other service members who put their lives on the line so I can live in this great country called the United States of America. However, I'm concerned that somewhere along the way, these rights that so many individuals have worked to protect are now in jeopardy. Let me elaborate on that. 6 years ago, when we moved to our house in South Burlington, we were excited and optimistic for the future. Now, when we think about the future, there's a sense of fear and uncertainty. If the F-35s are brought here, our house will then be labeled uninhabitable. This means our biggest economical asset will decrease substantially in value, and most likely we wouldn't be able to sell it even if we wanted to. In addition to that, I question how this will have an impact Chamberlain School. With so many of the houses being bought out at our neighborhood school, I question that if Chamberlain could sustain. This could potentially also have a negative impact by the fact that I work at Chamberlain School. If I lose my job, that would equate to approximately 2/3 of our household income. Thus, not only would we lose our biggest economic asset, we would also lose the majority of our income. I feel my basic rights are being violated because no one's giving me a choice in this matter. If the F-35s come, I will then be living in an uninhabitable area. Furthermore, no one's given us options as to how we can remedy the situation if our house does become uninhabitable. Rather, people are turning their heads, simply washing their hands of the innocent people that this is going to impact. While I understand the F-35s would have an economic asset to our community, there are people that could lose everything. If we lose 2/3 of our income and our biggest economical asset, how would I pay for the necessities that my children need? Therefore, not only will it impact my husband and I, but it will also impact our 2 children. I'm a hardworking citizen, I abide by the laws, and in general, I trust our government to make the right decisions. However, in this instance, I'm questioning how the government can justify taking away my basic necessity of a safe living environment. How is it they can look me in the eye and say they're working for me, and then in turn strip me of everything that I've worked so hard for? I'm requesting that our government think about the innocent children and citizens who are going to be negatively impacted.
What a gorgeous day for a protest. Thank you, all of you, for coming out to express what you think about this basing. I want to speak to you today as a Winooski resident, a proud member of Save Our Skies Vermont, and as a person who is committed to the search for truth and the challenging task of asking questions, critiquing the status quo, and challenging authority when they are leading us down the wrong road. I teach my students about the necessity of shedding our complacency and not ever settling for just believing what we are told. For such inaction and naivete invite the powerful to run roughshod over us. I teach them about the importance of a citizen's voice in a democracy and about the power of real democracy to seek justice. But I am disappointed in so many Vermonters when it comes to this basing decision. Intelligent, good-hearted, civically minded people seem unwilling to question the assertions of those in power, even though this basing will occur in the most densely populated area of our entire state. Whoa. Many people have never read the DEIS. Most people will never have to live in the zone that is not compatible with residential use. Many people, sadly, just don't care enough to ask the questions that need to be asked. Meanwhile, our leaders make assertions about this basing that directly contradict scientific research, common sense, and even the Air Force's own environmental impact statement, and Vermonters are buying it. Proponents are prioritizing the honor that this might bring to the Guard for being chosen first, as if we're in a middle school dodgeball game, over the very basic health, financial stability, and safety of Vermonters. We who are asking questions are branded as unpatriotic. We who are, but it is very patriotic to defend one's home and one's health and one's quality of life. Yeah. It is very patriotic to insist that one's society seek justice rather than wealth or honor. I want to offer my sincere thanks to the Winooski City Council for asking the questions that need to be asked. And when no one was willing to answer those questions, they refused to consent. They set aside their own personal feelings and their own self-interest. They rejected complacency, and they demanded justice, grounded in evidence, for the sake of Vermonters. It is our turn, your turn, to say no to this basing and yes to protecting our neighbors. We need you to write to the Air Force. The deadline is Monday. Get it into the Air Force. Tell everyone you know. And put these signs on your lawn. Thank you.
I want to say a few words about the health effects of the F-35 because this is one of the several areas in which we have been subjected to a campaign of disinformation by F-35 proponents, powerful people in this community. They claim there are no health effects or that there is no conclusive evidence. These statements, and I want everybody to be sure to know this, these statements are categorically false. We know they're false because the World Health Organization in 2011 produced a definitive study bringing together the most recent research by leading experts from all over the world. The conclusion agreed upon by the leading experts is that noise at the level produced by the F-35 will cause a substantial increase in cardiovascular disease and will lead to cognitive impairment, affecting 50% of the children in the noise zone. There's also considerable evidence for hearing loss, especially in young children. The health effects are real, they're serious, and if based here, the F-35 would force upon us a health problem that is an intolerable violation of the human rights of adults and children in this community. Right on! Yeah, right on! We cannot let that happen. It must be stopped. and it will be stopped if we work together. The great victory at the Winooski City Council this week shows that what we can do, and that we can do this. The tide is turning. Don't you feel that today? You just got an explanation? Together, we're going to win. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last night I had the strangest dream I'd ever dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. I dreamed I saw a mighty room filled with women and men, and paper they were signing said they'd never fight again. And when the paper was all signed and millions of copies made, they all joined hands and bowed their heads, and grateful prayers were prayed. And the people in the streets below were dancing round and round, while swords, guns, uniforms were scattered on the ground. Thank you.